I'm answering some of your gardening questions today on Pots and Trowels, and that's brought to you with the support of Cobra Garden and King Seeds. Hello and welcome to Pots and Trowels. Well, Christmas now, so instead of being in the garden, it's a couple of days just relaxing in the house, reading and doing things. But I thought what I would do is answer a few of the questions for you this week that you've sent in. So first one is from Jeff in Southport. Jeff is growing some saracenias for the first time that he bought at a flower show. He's got them in a cold greenhouse, but he's a little bit worried because some of the pitchers are now starting to go brown, and he wants to know whether he should bring them into the house to give them a little bit more warmth. Well, although they do look tropical and quite exotic, these are actually hardy. They naturally come from North America where they get quite a lot of frost, and some of the growers in England, the specialist growers down in Hampshire and North Yorkshire, leave them outside over winter, so they will stand a lot of frost. And you're not too bad where you are in Southport in the northwest of the country. It's a little bit milder. And this one is one that we grow in a cold porch. Lots of the pitchers are still in good condition, but one or two of ours are also now just starting to die back. So what you can do at this time of the year to tidy them up is just get your snips and cut off the brown, and there's a few round the back as well. That instantly makes them look a little bit better. But then over winter, lots more will die back. It's what they do. They're almost herbaceous in the way that they grow. So in springtime, you can chop all of them down to just above pot level, and you'll get a flush of new ones and a great display next year. So leave them in the greenhouse. It would be far too warm if you bring them into the house. They really, really wouldn't like that. Question from Judith in Portsmouth. She's had a bit of a disaster in the cabbage patch this year. They've all been eaten by hungry caterpillars, and she wants to know how she can stop this happening next year. Well, these are the caterpillars of the cabbage white butterfly, the white butterflies that we see flitting around all through the summer. They are attracted to the cabbages, Brussels, kales, all member of the same family, the brassica family, lay their eggs, the caterpillars hatch, and they turn your wonderful cabbages into doilies in a matter of days. So to keep them off, the best way to do it is to put a physical barrier there. We don't spray anything that we eat, so we go for the barrier method. So we put some bamboo canes or stakes around the cabbage patch, put a little plant pot on each one, and then drape a net over it, and then peg it down with tent pegs so that the crafty butterflies can't get underneath. And that works a treat. They're attracted to them, but they physically can't get to lay their eggs on the leaves of the cabbages. You get them instead of the caterpillars. So try that next year, Judith, and I'm sure you'll get loads and loads. Next question is from Jenny in Kings Lynn. Jenny's got lots of moss in the lawn, and she wants to know when she can start work on it, and how do you get rid of it? Well, I've got exactly the same problem this year, Jenny. I think because we had that really hot, dry summer, that stressed the lawn, especially the grasses, and then it turned very wet in the late part of the autumn, and has been for the last month, 6 weeks or so. And the moss has just grown like mad. It really has great big thick spongy cushions of moss, and the grass is really struggling to grow through it. So when it gets to that stage, you do need to do something about it if you want to. If you like the moss, then leave it as a moss lawn, but I'm going to get rid of some of mine. A little bit too early yet. You want to wait probably till mid to late February. You can just rake it out either by hand, or you could use a mechanical wire rake, a scarifier that will rake it all out, but you want to get physically rid of it. There are other products you can use as well on this. One of them is a bacteria that you spread on the lawn or sprinkle on the lawn in the spring. The bacteria break down the moss and it rots away, so you don't have to rake it out. The more traditional method is to put lawn sand on it, which contains iron. That will turn the moss black, and when it's turned black, you can rake it out. Once you've raked it out and you've got less of it, then the grass has more chance to grow. So a bit of feed on, the grass will grow, and you'll get that balance. But the time to do it is in late winter, early spring, and you may need to scarify 2 or 3 times through the spring to get on top of it, but you will get there. Number 4 is Ian from Cardiff, and Ian's growing Agapanthus in a pot, done well for the last few years, but the summer just gone, it only had 2 blooms on it, and he wants to know what he can do to get more blooms next year. Could be one of 2 things really, Ian. It could be that it's just now so pot bound in your container that it's not producing the flowers. It hasn't got the energy to produce foliage and flowers. And if certainly over the last couple of years you've noticed a decrease in the amount of flowers, that will be the case. Could also be lack of food, because they're quite greedy as well. So it could be that it's just pot bound and hungry. So I think what I would do is, again, about March time, take it out of the container and then divide it. They've got a really, really tough root on them. So I do it either if you can get sort of an axe or sort of like a cleaver, or sometimes I just stand it on the ground and then get a spade and physically chop through it. And you can usually chop a good size clump into 4, almost into quarters, and then select the best one, repot that in the pot, or pot them all into other pots. So you've got 4 plants in some fresh compost, a good well-drained compost that's not going to get waterlogged, with a bit of added slow release fertilizer in there. And if it's a decent size, that should still flower for you next summer, but certainly it will then bulk out, and the year after you'll have amazing flowers. And the secret is, if you're growing Agapanthus in containers, then soon as they start to flower, we need to start to feed them with a high potash liquid feed. Tomato feed is perfect on a weekly basis right the way through the summer until September, and that helps the flower buds start to initiate and form for the following year. So in a container they are quite greedy, so it's feed, feed, feed through the summer and divide every few years. So good luck with that, and I'm sure we'll get lots of flowers. And then finally, this one is Ruth up there in Newcastle in the northeast. She's got a Hydrangea Annabelle, which is one of my favourites. It's absolutely amazing. It's had lovely flowers, followed by the big dead flower heads on there. 1 or 2 are looking a bit brown and messy, so she wants to know if she can take them off, and when she does do it, how far down. Is it just a case of deadheading, or a little bit harder than that? Well, Annabelle has these big white flowers, almost the size of a football, sort of June, July, August time they're in flower. And at the moment they're quite brown, and they'll stand there all through the winter, but they will gradually collapse as winter goes on. The time to prune them really is in spring, so late February, early March, and don't just take the flower heads off like you would do on some of the mop head hydrangeas. With Annabelle, you're cutting it much harder, and you can literally cut it down to just an inch or 2 from ground level. Sounds a bit harsh and drastic, but if you cut everything down to that level, feed it and mulch it in the spring, you'll get this wonderful, strong new growth through the first half of the summer, and big flowers from July onwards. So again, too early, something to do in the spring, but cut it really hard back. So that's just a few of the problems that some of you had, so hopefully you can sort them out for next year. Just a couple of quick tips though. If any of you have got battery powered lawnmowers, scarifiers, lawn vacs, strimmers, hedge cutters, lots of products now have batteries. These are lithium ion batteries in them. Never leave them in the piece of equipment in a cold shed or greenhouse or garage over winter. What you need to do is to take them out and then charge them so that they are fully charged, and then store them somewhere at room temperature, not cold. If you keep them cold over winter and they freeze, it really reduces the life of lithium ion. So charge them up and store them at room temperature until you need them next spring. And then the other thing, which I'm going to be doing over Christmas, is get my seed order out. Seed catalogues are out. If you haven't got a physical seed catalogue, then what you can do is go online, and I'm just going to spend a happy couple of hours with a notepad and pen, flicking through the vegetables and all the wonderful flowers, deciding what I'm going to be growing in the garden next year. So still things that you can be doing gardening wise, even though it's cold, short days, and we're having a few days off for Christmas. So thank you very much. We'll be back with you with gardening videos again next week, doing something practical and all the way through the year. So thank you not only to you for watching us, but also to our sponsors, Cobra and King Seed, and hope you have a really, really lovely gardening and successful year in 2026.